Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verses 1 to 5. Arjuna Uvacha Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha shamsasi Punaryogam cha shamsasi Yashreya etayorekam Yashreya etayorekam Tanme bruhi sunishchitam Tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha shamsasi Yashreya etayorekam Tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasa Karavubhau Nishreyasa Karavubhau Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasa Karavubhau Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yoga Vishishyate. Nyeyasya Nitya Sanyasi Nyeyasya Nitya Sanyasi Yo Natveshti na Kankshati Yo Natveshti na Kankshati Nirdvandvo hi Mahabaho Nirdvandvo hi Mahabaho Sukam bandhat pramuchyate Sukam bandhat pramuchyate Nyeyasya Nitya Sanyasi Yo Natveshti na Kankshati Nirdvandvo hi Mahabaho Sukam bandhat pramuchyate. Sankhya Yogau Prithak Bhalaha Sankhya Yogau Prithak Bhalaha Pravadanti na Panditaha Pravadanti na Panditaha Ekam apyastitas samyak Ekam apyastitas samyak Ubayor vindate phalam Ubayor vindate phalam. Sankhya Yogau Prithak Bhalaha Pravadanti na Panditaha Ekam apyastitas samyak Ubayor vindate phalam. Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam Tad yogairapi gamyate Tad yogairapi gamyate. Ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha Ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha Ya pashyati sa pashyati Ya pashyati sa pashyati. Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam Tad yogairapi gamyate Ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha Ya pashyati sa pashyati. In this chapter 5, we have done up to verse number 3. We just began this chapter 5 last class, and we have had 3 weeks gap in between because of Guru Purnima and all. So you could have forgotten what we studied. So this chapter 5 is called as Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of renunciation of action. Before coming to chapter 5, there are 4 chapters that has been discussed already. First chapter is Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's state of despondency, where Arjuna succumbs to emotions and falls. Falls meaning he becomes stressful and he refuses to act. He says, I will not fight, meaning I will not do my duty. Then in the second chapter, which is entitled as Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge, Sri Krishna gives the knowledge only after Arjuna surrenders. In the 7th shloka of chapter 2, Arjuna becomes the disciple. He says, I am your disciple. You are my guru. Teach me. Only then Sri Krishna starts the Gita. Knowledge is never given. It is taken. You got to draw the knowledge. It cannot be forced upon. Anything forced is never forceful, says Swami Ram Tirtha. Anything you try to force into anybody, it won't go in. So it has to be drawn. Knowledge has to be taken, not given. So Arjuna becomes the Shishya and says, Oh Krishna, you are my Guru. And therefore you should tell me what is good for me. Only then Sri Krishna starts giving the knowledge, and he starts off, after analyzing Arjuna's condition, he understands what is the reason that Arjuna is suffering. For that matter, anybody suffers because of attachment. And attachment to this body and all the beings associated with the body, properties, everything. So all our suffering is due to attachment. And the attachment comes from ignorance of our true nature. Who am I? What is my real self? When I don't know that, I imagine myself to be this limited individual. And as long as I think I'm limited, I feel discontented, insecure. And therefore my thoughts run towards the world to feel full, to accomplish things, acquire worldly objects, and feel complete. And thus my desire starts running after the objects of the world. And then whatever I acquire, I get attached. Right? So due to my attachment, I suffer. This is called samsara. Suffer mentally. So why anyone suffers is due to attachment, which comes because of ignorance of our true self. So what is the solution for it? Knowledge of our true self. So straight away Sri Krishna gives the knowledge of the higher self. And then he says, this knowledge can only go into a person who's purified. Meaning the mind has to be free of the desires. For that you need to do karma yoga. You have to act in the world in the spirit of karma yoga. Dedicate it for a larger cause. So he describes karma yoga in a nutshell then. And then Arjuna asks, please tell me, speak to me about a perfect human being. Then Sri Krishna spoke about a perfect human being in the end of 2nd chapter. So in the 2nd chapter, the emphasis is in knowledge, and you have to gain that knowledge through purification, through karma yoga, and that knowledge will give you liberation. And this is the state of a liberated person. All this was discussed. Then in the 3rd chapter, Sri Krishna discusses karma yoga in detail. Right? And what is karma yoga? He said, being in the world, understanding that my ultimate goal is happiness, which is within. It is not possible to find happiness in the external world. It is not there. But for transaction purpose, I need the external world. So to that extent, I will contact it. But I will dedicate all my actions for that higher pursuit, towards that divinity, not for my selfish purpose. Having dedicated my actions for the higher, whatever comes as a result, I accept as prasad. This is called karma yoga. And if you act like this, you purify your thoughts, your emotions. Then you qualify for knowledge. You attain jnana yogyata. So, having qualified, then you gain the knowledge. So the knowledge part he gives in chapter 4 and chapter 5 in more detail. Because already in 2nd chapter also it discussed. So in the 4th chapter, which is called as what? Jnana Karma Sanyasi Yoga. The yoga of renunciation of action in wisdom. So through the knowledge, you rise above desires and you rise above action by gaining the knowledge that I, the self, is not the doer. It is the body, mind, intellect that does the action. I, the self, is a non-doer. So this he explained in the 4th chapter, where he said, you must see action in inaction, inaction in action. There he explained all this. And to explain this, we usually give the example of petrol in a car. No car can move without petrol, right? But yet petrol has no desire to move or not to move. There's no desire to go or not to go. Oh, after all, it's a Vedanta class. Why don't you go? No reply from petrol. I'm not asking you to go for some mundane thing. It's after all for something spiritual. Why don't you say something? No response. Right? Petrol has no interest in going or not going. Yet no car can go, move without petrol. And the performance of the car depends on the engine, not petrol. An engine is the mind. And reaching the destination safely or meeting with the accident, petrol has got nothing to do with it. It's to do with the driver, the intellect. So the body, mind, intellect are the ones which does the action. Atma, the self, my original self, is only an enlivening factor, enlivening principle. And understanding that, I understand that I'm not the doer, but I'm a witnessing consciousness. Sakshi Chaitanyam. Right. Now, as I understand this, then my body, mind, intellect functions. I remain a witness, whereby I exhaust all the vasanas and desires and I realize the self. I get established in the wisdom, which is Brahman or Atman. So such a has become free from the, what do you call, the outcomes. Affectation is not there. See, you're going in the car is going at, let's say, 80 kilometers speed or 100 kilometers speed. Are you becoming breathless as if you're running at 80 kilometers per hour speed? You are relaxed. If somebody else is driving, you may also be sleeping. Right? You're not affected. You understand? Similarly, you allow the body, mind, intellect to function. You remain a witness without getting affected by whatever may be the outcome. All this he discussed in the 4th chapter. Now the 5th chapter, which is the yoga of renunciation of action. Remember, when he says renunciation of action, this is what actually gives fear to everybody. They don't want to come to Gita because of this. Oh, renunciation of action means I have to give up action. It is not giving up action. It is growing up. It is rising beyond desire. See, you cannot rise above action without rising above the doership. As long as you are deluded and you believe that you are the doer, to that extent you will have to suffer the consequences. Consequences of action will be there for everybody, even for a liberated person. But the liberated person, the fact that he or she doesn't have that notion that I am the doer, is not affected by the consequence, because when they did the action, they didn't do it as a doer. When they are facing the result, they are not facing it as an enjoyer. Therefore, there is no punya papa, no affectation for them. This is clear. So such a person, we say, has risen above the action. Also in this context, I clarified many times, though a person has risen above the action, risen above the doership, risen above the desires, it is not that the person will become inactive. In our case, our actions are propelled by certain motive. When I'm pursuing something, it is because of my desire to achieve something through that action. Action becomes a means. In the case of a liberated person who's got the knowledge that I'm not the doer, there is no motive pushing him or her other than love and compassion. I think somebody's mic is on. Please put yourself in mute. So, there is no motive. Like you see anything in nature, sun simply rises and gives light and vitality. Cow simply gives milk. There is no motive. rose simply flowers and gives us fragrance. There is no motive, right? So exactly like that, a person who gains the knowledge rises above the motive. Thereafter, the person simply functions out of love and compassion. And with no duty, the resting on that person's shoulder, giving stress. For that person, action becomes a sport, a leela. It is a sport, leela. You understand? All this we have already discussed. So this is the state he's describing now, the yoga of renunciation of action. So here in this chapter, the discussion is about that renunciation, which is growth, not giving up, growing up. Now, obviously, Arjuna didn't understand all these things in detail. So he asks a question in the beginning of this chapter. From verse 1 to 7 is the first topic of this chapter, which discusses yogi, active person, ascetic or Sanyasi Ascetic, contemplative person, and Gnani, meaning enlightened person. All these three is being discussed in this topic. Yogi, active, Sanyasi, ascetic or contemplative, and Gnani, enlightened, realized soul. So you have to move from being a yogi to a sannyasi to a Gnani. This is the thought flow. Yogi rises to sannyasi. From active, you move to contemplative. From contemplative, you move to enlightened. You understand? All of us will have to go through this. Being extroverted, you slowly move to introversion. The focus in the beginning is external. You're thinking about the world. And then you start moving towards the Atma within. The focus shifts towards the Atma within. And then you get established in the Atma within. That's the last stage. So yogi rises to sannyasi. Sannyasi rises to Gnani. Active rises to contemplative. Contemplative rises to enlightened. This is the discussion. So this chapter starts with Arjuna's question. Arjuna asks Sri Krishna, you are, raising renunciation of action and also yoga, meaning the path of action. Tell me conclusively, which of the two is better? Path of action is better or renunciation of action? Obviously, this question Arjuna is asking because like you are having this week after week class where we kind of summarize what we did in the previous class and then get on to the new verses. All these advantages Arjuna doesn't have. He's asking, Sri Krishna is answering, and all this is happening in the middle of battle, armies. So he's clarifying, and thanks to Arjuna, he's clarifying, we are benefiting. Right? So he's asking which of the two is better. And remember always, when such question is asked, which is better, which is better? When you simply compare 1 versus 2, 1 may be better than the 2 or 2 may be better than 1. But for whom? If you say 1 is better, 2 is better, we have to understand for whom we are saying this. Somebody comes and asks you, should I marry or remain single? You can't say, listen, remaining single is better. If he has a lot of desire, he must get married, better get married. Right? Everything has its own advantages and disadvantages. So you have to analyze that person. According to that person, you have to give the answer. So here also Sri Krishna says, between the two, path of action is superior. In the second verse, Sri Krishna replies and says, path of action is superior. We just saw, you move from action to contemplation. So which means what? Contemplation is superior to action per se. But for a person who is having a lot of desires, right? You can't say straight away take sannyas, especially the lifestyle. Arjuna is now talking about lifestyle. In the context, don't forget what he is asking in the context. He wants Sri Krishna to say sannyas is better. Because what did he say in the first chapter? I do not want to fight. Because what are the options he is facing? One is fight the battle, which means what? He has to eliminate people like Bhishma, his great-grandfather, and Dronacharya, his guru, which he doesn't want to. Okay. Now, he also knows as a Kshatriya, his duty is to fight the battle. So, he thinks if I don't fight the battle, then I'll incur sin. Why? Because, remember, you incur sin because of omissions and commissions. When you don't do what you ought to do, and when you do what you ought not to do. Samajh rahe? When you do what you ought not to do, you incur sin. When you don't do what you ought to do, you incur sin with doership. So Arjuna wanted to escape from the battle. And he wanted Sri Krishna's permission and scripture's sanction. Whenever we face such dharam sankat, we also would like to escape, extricate. And we think Gita is telling that, asking us to escape. Gita never teaches escapism. Do you understand? So Sri Krishna says, no, Arjuna, for you, what is better? Path of action is better. If he leaves the battlefield and goes into, let's say, jungle, forest, or he goes into a single bedroom house, right? And he closes his eyes to meditate. Will he be able to meditate? He will be interested in knowing what is happening on the battlefield. India-Sri Lanka test match has started, right? Padikkal has already scored century. It's happening in Sri Lanka, so I don't know what time it starts. Has it started already? I don't know. Unnecessarily I put the thought in you. Right. So now you may be thinking, sitting here, but you may be thinking of it. If you are so much interested in cricket and all that is still there, you understand? So he will be interested in listening to the commentary. He would also want the power from Sage Vyasa, which Sage Vyasa gave to Sanjaya, the charioteer of Dhritarashtra, sitting in the palace Hastinapura. He is seeing what is happening on the battlefield Kurukshetra. So he would want that. That's what he is interested in. His mind will be interested in the world. It has not become free from the preoccupations of the world. Till you become free from the preoccupations of the world, you can't take to sannyas lifestyle. There are two lifestyles called active lifestyle or grahastha lifestyle and contemplative lifestyle called Sanyasi lifestyle, right? Ideally, majority would do better to go through Grahastha lifestyle and then rise to contemplative Sanyasi lifestyle. Ideally. Some people like Adi Shankaracharya, Swami Vivekananda, etc., they have already done this in the previous Janma. So now they are more evolved. So such people directly took to sannyas. But whether you are in Grahastha Ashrama or Sannyasa Ashrama, active or contemplative lifestyle, in both there are actions. Without action, there is no Sannyasi lifestyle also. A Sannyasi also has his own or her own duty, which is represented by the stick they have, danda. You understand? So the action may vary from the Grahastha and Sannyasi, but everybody has to do the action and then mentally purify and then rise to contemplation. So he says you have no choice between action and contemplation. But with reference to lifestyle, you have a choice. But that also based on your nature. You can't just like that choose. So in Arjuna's case, it is better to be in the Grahastha Ashrama, doing the action, fight the battle in the spirit of karma yoga. Dedicate it for a larger cause, not for your selfish reasons, and accept whatever comes as a prasad. Thus, when you function, what happens? Your mind becomes more and more purified, and mentally you become a sannyasi. Whether you are in sannyas lifestyle or not, mentally you become a sannyasi. That is what he said in verse number 3. He says, Nyesya nitya sannyasi, yonat veshina kankshati. He should be known as a perpetual sannyasi, ascetic, who neither hates nor desires, who has no likes and dislikes. When we say who has no likes and dislikes, means what? He or she will also have likes and dislikes, but the likes and dislikes will not bind that person. In the 3rd chapter itself, Sri Krishna said this already. There is nothing wrong with likes and dislikes. You should be the master of likes and dislikes, not a slave. Tayoho vasham na agachet. Tauhyasya paripanti now. They are your enemies. Don't become a slave to the raga and dvesha. Likes and dislikes. So, mentally, you rise above likes and dislikes. All the pairs of opposites, heat, cold, joy, sorrow, honor, dishonor, censure, praise, whatever may be the pairs of opposites, he becomes free from the pairs of opposites. So he says, O Mahabaho, such a person is easily set free from bondage. He easily moves from bondage to liberation. So, even after becoming mentally a sannyasi, you can choose to be in Grihastha, or you can choose to take sannyas lifestyle. That's up to you. But what is more important is, mentally you become sannyasi before taking sannyas ashram. Because there is no reverse. You can go from Grihastha to sannyas. You can't come back from sannyas to Grihastha. This is clear. So therefore he said, he should be known as a perpetual sannyasi. Whether he is wearing the akar robe or not, doesn't matter. Now, how can you know that? You cannot know that. Only to the extent you are evolved, you can know that. But if you are already in that stage, that you can know. You can know about others. That's what I meant. So he says, you are a perpetual sannyasi when you have risen above hatred and desire. See, what happens is, when some action I believe will bring me happiness, then I crave for it. When I see that some of my actions may bring me sorrow, dukkha, then I hate it. So in us generally, you see, we are having all this. We like something, we don't like something. Throughout the day, what we are doing is, what we like we do, what we don't like we do. And others also pamper this. Parents, spouse, everybody pampers this. So our likes and dislikes are now like a Rakshasa, devil controlling us. So in the case of a sannyasi, risen above likes and dislikes and free from the pairs of opposites. See, pairs of opposites, Dvandva is another name for the world. When you are in the world, there will be pairs of opposites. Even if you are an avatara, when Sri Krishna, we consider Sri Krishna, we accept Sri Krishna as an avatara, Sri Rama as an avatara in our tradition. So, even Sri Krishna, the avatara, when he was living, there was Shishupala, who was hurling abuses at him. There are people who are praising, there are people who are abusing, criticizing. It happened to Lord Buddha, it happens to everybody. So, world doesn't change. In fact, another name for the world is change. Right? So, all these pairs of opposites, dvandvas, means world. It continues as it is, but it stops affecting you. Why? Because you've identified with the changeless reality within. So he says, therefore, you slowly move from active to contemplative. Continue. Verse number 4. Sankhya yoga prithak balaha प्रवदन्ति न पंडिताः एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक् उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्. Sankhya means what? Jnanam, Jnana Yoga. Right? And Yoga means Karma Yoga. He says, children, not the wise. Balaha means children. Panditaha means wise. So he says, children, not the wise, speak of Sankhya and Yoga as different. Action and sannyas. Karma Yoga and sannyas is different. See, what we need to understand is, in the spiritual path, the beginning stage is karma pradhana, predominantly active, action oriented. Then contemplative oriented. You understand? Sannyasa. Initially it is karma pradhana, then it is jnana pradhana. So, if you don't understand it, you will say both are different. They are not different. They help you. You have to be a karma yogi in the beginning. So he says, children, not the wise, speak of Sankhya and Yoga as different. See, pravatanti, he says. Pravatanti means, it's translated as speak, but it is blabbering, prattling. You, without understanding really, you speak. Prattling, blabbering. Children blabber, not the wise. So just children blabber that Sankhya, path of knowledge, and Yoga, path of action, as different. He who is duly established in one obtains the fruit of both. What is the fruit of Karma Yoga? What is the fruit of Jnana Yoga? Both ultimately liberation only. Right? Please understand this. Put it in your head fully well. We are already the divinity. The whole universe is the expression of the divinity. So the macrocosm and the microcosm is an expression of the divinity. Each one of us are divinity. But today we are ignorant of that fact. So therefore I am thinking I am Hindu, I am Anju, all this I am thinking now. Right? So what can really remove that ignorance is knowledge of the self. So knowledge alone can give me liberation. But I have to qualify for that knowledge through path of action, Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga's goal is also liberation. What Karma Yoga does is, it qualifies you for knowledge by giving you Chitta Shuddhi, purification of the thoughts. So Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, both the fruit is what? Liberation, ultimately. So Karma Yoga qualifies you for knowledge, and knowledge gives you liberation. So he says, one who is duly established in one obtains the other, obtains the fruit, not other, obtains the fruit of both. So you establish yourself in Chitta Shuddhi. Once your thoughts are purified, not running after the world, what will it be seeking? The higher aspects. And when it starts focusing on the higher aspect, where will it get to? Establish in the highest Atma. So therefore, this is what he's saying. Don't confuse yourself as if they are different. They are one and the same. Next. Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam tat yogairapi gamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha ya pashyati sa pashyati. That state which is reached by the Sankhyas, those who pursue Jnana Yoga predominantly, is reached by the yogis, those who pursue Karma Yoga predominantly. So that state which is reached by the Sankhya's is reached by the yogis also. He who sees Sankhya and Yoga as one, he sees. This phrase, ya pashyati Sa Pashyati is very popular, very famous. He who sees it, sees it. That's what it means. If you don't understand after this also, Sri Krishna is almost saying, I give up. Ya Pashyati, Sa Pashyati. Whoever sees it, sees it. So he says, that state. Yes, Sthanam. Sthanam means that state, place. Which place? Which is what? Being independent, being totally free. We celebrated Independence Day yesterday. Right? Country has got independence. Have we got independence? As an individual, am I free? Small little things affect me. Weather changing a little bit affects me. The scheduled program not going as scheduled affects me. Isn't it? The mood of the other person affects me. Small things, little things. I gave the example, cricket example. Supposing you're such a big fan of cricket and today if it rains, Sri Lanka will be affected. Sri Lanka is raining. Maybe they need rain. You are interested in cricket and therefore match doesn't happen, you get affected. So, we are not really independent. What we are actually seeking is independence. We may not know it. Whatever we may be running after in life, name, fame, money, everything, whatever, you can add whatever you want. What you really want is independence. So you think by getting, when a person is always going by walk and he doesn't have any other mode of transport, he thinks by getting a bicycle, his life will improve, means he becomes more independent. But he gets attached to the bicycle. Anything happens to bicycle, happens to him or her. Isn't it? So, when we quote something, what are we really quoting? Independence. But are we really becoming independent? So, therefore, what we are quoting is independence. And he says that's the state, both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga will take you to. That state which is reached by Sankhyas is reached by the yogis also. So don't have to feel inferior if you have a lot of desires. As a result, you might have to do more Karma Yoga. See, for example, I don't know how many of you have been to our ashram, which is there near Lonavala in Pune. You see, there the schedule is from 4:15 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. One fellow said, I will join the ashram if Swamiji is ready to change the timing. Instead of 4:15 a.m. to 9 p.m., if he makes it 9 a.m. to 4:15 p.m., I will join. He said. So, in this, after we wake up after a small prayer, there is a study session. We sit down and study. Then we have yoga, walking, jogging, whatever. And then another study session. Swamiji gives the lecture from 9:30 to 10:45. Then we have Karma Yoga, lunch and all that, take rest for an hour. Then 3 to 4:30, again we sit and study, self-study in the room. Then tea, Sanskrit and all that. Then 6 p.m., another session by Swamiji or group discussion. Then we have bhajans, dinner and go to sleep. Same schedule every day. Right? In this, if you see, one lecture by Swamiji, another lecture or group discussion, and 2 study sessions. 4 study sessions in a day. So there it is more, and only one Karma Yoga time from 11 to 1, 2 hours. So there it is what? More Jnana Pradhanam, more contemplative schedule. You get it? In the world here, many of you search for the Gita book Sunday morning. Sunday morning class ke baad, you won't keep the Gita book somewhere. You say, next Sunday morning, I kept this here only. And you shout at your wife or husband or children, who took it away from here? Nobody touched the Gita book. Because we are not that contemplative. We are more active. We need action. So one class in a week. And we kind of try to slip it in and say, every day little bit you study in the morning. One session every day. Right? Because we are more active type. Nothing wrong in that. Even Adi Shankaracharya, great Adi Shankaracharya, also was one initially must have been more active. Then only he went to contemplation. It is the law. Everybody has to move like that. There is nothing inferior. If you have too many desires, give a direction to your actions. Rise above that. Then you come to contemplation. So therefore he says there is nothing inferior or superior about it. Both lead to the same state. That state which is reached by the Sankhya's is reached by the yogis also. He who sees Sankhya and Yoga as one, he sees. So he's telling Arjuna, see, whenever you want to really oppose the view of another person in a discussion, first agree. First don't confront the fellow. I agree, but you say, I agree, but. So similarly here, what Sri Krishna slowly, okay, you ask which is better, action is better. Then he's saying, only children will ask this kind of questions, man. Wise people will not ask. Please understand, both are one and the same. Both lead you to that level. Slowly he's explaining. So he says, he who sees Sankhya and Yoga as one, he sees. One meaning what? Both ultimately take you to that absolute independence. Verse number 6. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptuma yogataha yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadi gacchati. Now he says directly, but renunciation. He must have heard me, I think. I said, but. So he's also saying, but renunciation. O Mahabaho, O mighty armed Arjuna, is hard to attain without yoga action. You can't come to renunciation of action state. You can't mature into that mental state without going through the difficult state of karma yoga. So that is why in action, there is consequence. Right? So we want to escape. So he says, no, you have to go through. It is hard. Renunciation is hard to attain without yoga, karma yoga. A sage, Munihi. Munihi means Maunat Munihi. Mananat Munihi, we say. Maunat Munihi means one who is silent. Mananat means one who is contemplative. Right? Munihi is one who is silent with reference to most of the things in the world. Because he conserves all that energy and is directing it towards the focusing on the higher. Isn't it? Unnecessarily, he doesn't get involved in many things. His mind is silent. So, Munihi means Maunat Munihi. Also, it means Mananat Munihi, a contemplative person who is contemplating on the higher. He is not bothered about what is going on in the neighborhood. Unless it is his obligation, duty, where he has to do something, he doesn't allow his mind to get into all that. We have already got so many things to worry about. Right? Why we want to know about all those things and worry more? So, a sage, he says, a sage, Munihi, well established in yoga, karma yoga. A sage is well established in karma yoga. Right? So he says, but renunciation, O Mahabaho, is hard to attain without yoga action. A sage meaning well established in karma yoga. Your mind can become quiet only through action, by not doing the action when you have a lot of desires, not directing the action, desires. Mind cannot become quiet. Please understand this. We think if I move to some place, I'll become quiet. How long? Temporarily, you can be there. Maximum 1 week, 10 days when you go for escaping from your work. You feel, my God, so much stress, so much stress. So what do? I go to some spa, some place. I go and stay there for a week, 10 days. How many days can you go? Even the packages they have is for 21 days maximum. They know 22nd day you can't stay there. You will agitate them also, because you will be thinking what's happening in my work, family, customers, you understand. So your mind cannot escape. It has to become free. When you are in meditation, your mind should not be bothering you about family, business, and all that. Right? Till then, you can proportionately do. But once you become contemplative, means you become free in your mind with reference to the worldly things. So he says, a sage well established in yoga attains Brahman ere long. Nachire nadi gacchati. Brahma, that Brahman, state of Brahman, meaning self-realization, enlightenment, he attains in due course, before long. You can't say immediately you will attain. See, this is another problem. Just like in any other worldly things, here also we are all craving for result. When will it happen? When will it happen? We all want courses, guarantee. 12 days liberation, 13 days moksha. In fact, if you conduct a course like that, more people will come. I'm not joking. You understand? If you say 18 chapters of Gita in 18 days, with 1 hour each day. If you can complete 18 chapters in 1 hour, more people. Basically, we don't really, we want shortcuts. We don't want to put in that effort, that exertion. So, long result. When will I get the result? Immediately I want to get the result. Without having to put the effort. Mind is result oriented. Everybody's mind. Any number of times you read Gita, that famous shloka is there, no? Karmani eva adhikaraha, mahavaleshu kadar. We keep quoting, but mind craves for result. So he says, before long, ere long, you attain Brahman. So what he wants to say is, be in the struggle. You will get there. It's a question of time. If you are thinking about the result, then you are not in the struggle. Please understand this. Do you get this? Being in the struggle, without thinking about the result, you will get to the result faster. While you are in the struggle, if you are preoccupied with the result, to that extent your struggle is not fully accomplished. And to that extent, the result will be delayed. This is what we need to understand. To that extent, the result will be delayed. Therefore, he says, ere long, before long, you just keep doing karma yoga, and to the extent you become contemplative, study the scriptures, meditation and all that. Then slowly you will be evolving more and more, and before long you realize, will it happen in this Janma? May happen, may not happen. But if you are constantly craving, will it happen now? Will it happen now? Will it happen now? Most likely not. You understand? So, therefore, before long, that sage gets to liberation. Now, in this verse number 7, he talks about how a yogi rises to Sanyasi and becomes a Gnani. everything in one shloka he mentions. Very important, interesting shloka. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate. Yoga yuktaha. Yuktaha means centered, united in yoga, in karma yoga. Yoga yuktaha vishuddhatma means what? Perfectly purified. The personality is perfectly purified. He who is united in yoga, who has purified and conquered the self, Vijitatma, who's conquered the self, the inner personality. Jitendriya, who's won over the senses, indriyas. One who has subdued the senses. See, the word subdued should not be taken literally. Not forcefully subdued. Subdued, sometimes you may get that idea. Meaning, senses listen to that person, not the other way around. And then he says, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. One who realizes his self is the self in all beings. His self within is the self in all beings. Kurvan, such a person acting. Kurvan api, even though acting, na lipyate, not tainted, not bound. Meaning what? He becomes free from the effects of action. So he says, first, get united with yoga. Right? Karma yoga. Do it as best as you can. Then what happens? You attain chitta shuddhi. Purification will happen. That's what he means by saying vishuddhatma. The personality will be free from all the mala. Dirts, likes and dislikes called mala. Then we have what is called as distraction of the mind. Right? That is called vikshepa. And then ignorance of the self. That is avarana. Mala, vikshepa, avarana. These three are there. So he says, through the process of karma yoga, get rid of the mala. And through the process of bhakti, contemplation, bhakti upasana, you get upasana meaning bhakti yoga, you get rid of the distractions, agitations. And then through jnanam, you get rid of the ignorance. Right? And that's how you rise to the state of a Gnani. So he says, Yoga yuktaha vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya. So that person gains control over the mind and the senses. And such a person can give into knowledge. And what will the knowledge establish that person in? By gaining that knowledge, he or she understands that the self within, the Chaitanya Swarupa am I, and it is that which is the same in all. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. He sees the oneness in every being with reference to all beings. And such a person understands that self is only enlivening and not doing the action. The body, mind, intellect does the action. The gunas are in the action. Atma is the enlivener. I am the enlivener. That I is the same in every being. So therefore, he doesn't get entangled. So he says, he's not tainted, although acting. So with that knowledge, the person continues acting, but becomes absolutely free from all the taints. Now, we are acting in the world without this knowledge. For us, when I say I, it means the body. Deha abhimana. My abhimana is with reference to the deha. Right? And I have kartrutva. I am the doer. I am doing the action. Even if with this kartrutva, I teach Gita, with this kartrutva, worship, then I will expect everybody must understand. Right? Which means what? I will not be able to sleep at all. Because there will be few people who will not understand. Right? However much they may sincerely try. So, that involvement is not there. As a result, entanglement is not. He is not tainted by the action. Though acting, kurvan api na lipyate. Even though acting, it doesn't stick. He is free. He's going on acting, but he is free. Why? In the mind, there is nothing. In the present, what has to be done? He does that and moves without any attachment, because the mind has become free. See, in his mind also, there will be likes and dislikes. And I said, he'll become free from mala, likes and dislikes. Means what? Likes and dislikes will be there in that enlightened person also. But that enlightened person will be controlling the likes and dislikes rather than the likes and dislikes controlling. So a yogi rises to sannyasi and becomes a Gnani. Now in shloka number 8 and 9, he'll talk about Gnani. Then in shloka number 10, he'll talk about sannyasi. In shloka number 11, he'll talk about yogi. All this we'll see next week. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.